Russell T Davies is in denial about controversial changes to Omega's return. So, in this video we're going to be talking about Omega's return and the controversial choice to change his look. Now, personally, I started off as I was a bit indifferent about the whole change, but the more I really looked into it and the more I watched it, I figured out and came to the conclusion that that was mainly because I haven't watched most of the classic era of Doctor Who. And that's something that I do need to go ahead and do. I need to go and watch classic Doctor Who and rewatch that. And who knows, I might do some little episode reviews on the classic era of Doctor Who. Let me know if you want that. If you want that, then smash a like on this video. If the video gets some good likes, then maybe I might do that. But basically I came to the conclusion that I probably couldn't appreciate Omega's original look to the extent that I could have done if I watched the classic era. So, basically, we're going to look into an article by Doctor Who TV about this whole subject. So, the article reads, Russell T Davies defends controversial Doctor Who villain changes. You have to accept that 40 years have passed. Which, I'm not going to lie, that is a bold statement to make because, 40 years have passed and, there's so many people who go, well, the times have changed. The times have changed. And that's almost like an excuse for, like, retconning the entire of the canon of the show by changing the very iconic look of a huge villain from back in the classic era. Even I know I know the look of Omega, I know who Omega is, I know some brief stuff about Omega, and I didn't even watch the episode, so that should tell you about how iconic Omega is. Russell T Davies has defended his controversial changes to Omega in Doctor Who Series 15 finale. In the reality war, Omega returned not as the mythic, cloaked figure long remembered by the fans of the classic series, but as a large, skeletal CGI monster. Yeah, I don't get why they've decided to replace the it's not even timeless, but it's just like update the look, but keep to the original. Like, kind of how they did the Daleks and the Cybermen. They stay to the original true selves, but you're upgrading the look. So, I think they should have done that to Omega, because imagine they replaced the Daleks with some big CGI over-the-top monster, and just call it the Daleks. That would be outrageous, but for some reason, Omega gets a little pass because he wasn't as famous as the Daleks, which I don't think that's the best. His dramatic appearance was short-lived. With the character swiftly defeated within minutes, reactions were inevitably divided, to say the least. One of the biggest criticisms of the decision not to use the actor in the costume that had been done in Omega's original appearances, Davies addressed the backlash in Doctor Who magazine by saying, "You don't need a man in a big cloak. You've got Archie Panjabi and Anita Dobson being their own Time Lords. A third one was just going to make it slightly mad." I don't really agree with this, because you could say the same about Omega. You could say the same about Sutek, and it doesn't really work. I feel like it is just a blunt excuse for, well, you have two other actors here. You need a big CGI monster. Yeah, I don't think that's how it works. I'm not gonna lie. I think it would have been way better if Omega walked out in his full cloak, the mask, everything, and I think that would have been way more impactful. Like, yes, you got the scale of the CGI creature. I refuse to call it Omega at this point. You have the scale of that, But Omega has his own level of just aura, quite frankly, when it comes to him being imposing on other characters. He does carry his own weight. So, yeah, that is that screenshot right here. Let's go on to the next one. He added, things do grow in legend. They become the legend. That point is of Wish World and the point of the Underverse, actually. It's a continuing thing across the entire two series that wishes and hopes do come true. Yeah. Next one. Davies pointed out that Davies pointed to the Time War as a narrative justification. A lot of things said about Omega were not said in the original series. He admitted, you have to accept that 40 years have passed, the Time War came along, and everyone's history got changed. So that's what Omega is now, you can't reinvent it. He compared the reinterpretation of Gallifreyan history to the real-world reassessment of historical figures. There were plenty of fuss made about Winston Churchill being in Doctor Who, when there's plenty of history to suggest that he wasn't such a good guy. And, again, that is kind of based on perception. I'm pretty sure Doctor Who being a British show, Winston Churchill being a British Prime Minister, there's got to be like a connection there, and that's one of the reasons why Victory of the Daleks worked so well as him being a supporter. But then again, he did have a slightly dark tone to him within Victory of the Daleks. He didn't seem 100% like he was the hero throughout the entire story. There was definitely moments where he seemed like the Doctor was almost trying to teach him a little bit about morals, but then again, it's like the morals get dropped within the wartime anyway, so it's like, it's a whole thing. And there's plenty of history suggesting one's a good guy. And that's always the way. Our history of slavery, our way of walking through the world is constantly being reanalyzed. Again, this is probably just another thing that these type of people love to use. It's 2025 now, so that changes everything. It really doesn't. And you can't really use the whole it's 2025 excuse for changing Omega. It doesn't justify it, and you can't just say it's 2025, that's how Omega looks now. Again, that's the same thing that you did with Davros, and again, that it didn't work. Yes, it worked in the sense of the minisode, but retconning and rewriting Davros is not going to be 100% good in the same way that rewriting Omega and rewriting Sutekh is not going to have that same positive effect. So, I like to think it's the same Gallifrey, he continued. That's happened over the eons. Omega has been recontextualized, and the story gets bolder and changes over time. We don't want to repeat the past, we want to push it forward. Yet, whether this justification satisfies fans is another matter entirely. Yeah, I don't think a lot of fans are going to be satisfied with this sort of justification. It does look like he's just in denial about the criticism that has came forward of this, and quite rightfully this criticism is, because realistically he took a classic villain and he completely changed the look of it. It just doesn't work. For the same way that if you change the look of the Daleks, they wouldn't be iconic anymore. if you had some big animated blob as a Dalek, which towers over the Doctor, it wouldn't be a Dalek anymore. And I think that's something that we've got to look at when we really look into this and think, okay, would we be okay with them changing the Cybermen to humans with chips in their heads? No, we wouldn't, because the Cybermen are very iconic looks, and I think it would just completely dumb down the Cybermen, really. I think the look is very, very much a key part of the Cyberman in itself. You know, it's quite imposing. It's got an element of fear to it. So, yeah. But that is just my opinions and thoughts. Let me know what you think about this whole thing. Do you think Russell T Davies is in denial about this? And do you agree with his points and his justification for changing Omega? And also, let me know what you guys think about the Omega change. Do you love it? Do you hate it? Let me know in the comments down below. And whilst you're at it, smash a like on this video and subscribe to this channel for more Doctor Who content. We've got so much Doctor Who content coming very, very soon to this channel, so make sure to hit that subscribe button and smash the like on this video. We've got tons of little reviews and other things as well, including a review that has just came out, so go ahead and check that out right now if you haven't already. Review is already out, so go ahead and check it out. But soon we have a review of a prop replica, and this is a very rare prop replica because nobody has really reviewed this in this amount of detail yet. So I'm going to be doing a full in detail depth review of this prop replica coming very, very soon to this YouTube channel. So make sure to like the video and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next video. Peace.